Hi there and welcome to the Made by Jo YouTube channel. My name is Jo. I'm a knitter, sewer and crocheter based in Fife in Scotland, and this is my podcast where I talk about everything I've been working on, knitting and crochet. Today it's all knitting, I believe. Don't have any sewing or crochet projects on the go at the moment. It's been a hectic time, so I've just been enjoying knitting, the simple art of knitting. A couple things before we start. Got myself a new chair. So I've been working from a bench and you're on my desk at the moment, and I work from my desk 4 out of 5 days during the week. The other day I'm in the office and I had a terrible chair. My bench didn't support my back, didn't like it, so I got a new chair. So this is feeling a little bit more like, I don't know, some of the podcasters I watch are really formal, they do edited videos and make it really clean, and other podcasters that I watch do the more this is who I am, no editing type videos, and I think that this gives a bit more of that vibe, although I will be editing out any big sections or adding photos and things that I need to add in. So kind of a hybrid between the super produced videos and the super chatty, really vlog style videos. I'm going to try and do a middle ground one. But hi, nice to see you. This is only my second video of 2025. Like I said at the beginning, have had some real hectic times going on in my life at the moment. I've had some mental health ups and downs, particularly in this last week. So I had some time 2 weeks ago to film, but just wasn't in the mood. And then I had some time last week, but again, just wasn't up for it. So you're getting me now. So all of that to say, it's been about a month since my last video, and that is what it is. Oh, it's been about a month since my last nitty confession, is how I'm going to put it. But anyway, that means I've got quite a bit to share with you. I've also been working through my wrap-up winter cal, which I'm doing in collaboration with the Wool at Winton organisers, which is a yarn festival in East Lothian in Scotland, which is happening on the 8th of March. And my wrap-up winter cal has been an opportunity to knit on some things that have been languishing in your pile of whips recently. So I've got quite a few things that were near finished that are now done, and I also have a few new cast-ons because, you know, you have to sometimes. But before I get into the standard practice of finished objects, whips and then acquisitions, I'm going to start with what I am wearing, and this is the wonderful Kindra sweater, which is the latest release from the Creabea or Rebecca Clow. I tested this design for Rebecca. I've tested for Rebecca quite a few times now. I know Rebecca personally, so it's lovely to test patterns for her, and this one has had a lot of hype. So I tested this, the test call went out in November, and some of the testers finished so quickly, but I also had 2 other jumpers I was testing that you saw last time, so I didn't finish this until the day of the deadline, but it is done and it's beautiful. So this is a top-down circular yoke jumper that has colour work on the yoke, and then it changes to raglan increases just underneath the arm, or just before you split for sleeves, sorry, and then it's just a straight regular stockinette jumper. I knit the DK weight version, however there is a DK weight and a 4-ply version, so mine is knit in Fleurville DK in the colour Carnation, which is a yarn that I purchased on sale from Wool Warehouse when they were getting rid of the yarn, so it's not available anymore as far as I'm aware. But it's 100% merino yarn, and it is like light pink in colour. Hopefully you can see it a little bit there. And then my contrast colours are the Beehive Yarns Patisserie Advent from 2023, and there is a couple in here that were not part of that Advent. So the yellow right at the top wasn't in the Advent. This dark purple here isn't from the Advent, and neither is this last blue colour. And the reason that I substituted some, sorry, my hair is all intertwined in this. The reason I substituted some of these colours out was just because I had some extras, or some of the colours in the Patisserie Advent didn't contrast quite enough with the main colour, so I swapped them out. But I love this palette, I think it's beautiful. I'm going to speak to you about an upcoming project in my acquisitions that's going to use this palette again, and the only modification I made, actually I made 2 modifications to this project. The first is I left it as a mock neck. The Kindra is actually a folded collar, but I have been really liking the mock neck recently, so I've left it like that. And the other modification I made is I altered the sleeve decreases. So Within the sleeve there is sort of 2 rates that you follow, and that changes depending on what size. And for my size, you knit 1 rate until about the elbow, and then you knit a 2nd rate. Once I got to the decreases, after the first rate of decreases, I stopped doing any decreases and just knit straight. And that meant I have a little bit of a wider sleeve on both sides, and that's what I was looking for. Before this was blocked, it was quite tight on my arms. I have knit previous Crayabea designs, and I do find that the sleeves are a little bit snug on me, so I should have said this at the beginning, I knit a size 3, and what I should learn is that I should increase to a size 4 for the arms. I think that's just what I should do standard practice, but it's not what I do now. So I changed the sleeve decreases. But other than that, it's to pattern. It's wonderful. I've worn it several times. I went to a friend's house in Glasgow on Friday and I wore it then, and I love it. I love this jumper. I'm really, really pleased with it. I'm wearing it with just a t-shirt today, and I think it's just really beautiful, and it's a great way to use an advent or minis that you've got stored up. So I love this. I could see myself knitting another one. I kind of want to knit one for my nephew, but it's not graded to a child size, so maybe Rebecca, if you're watching this, I don't think you watch these, but if you are, it would be wonderful if you could make the Kindra and a kids version. But that is what I am wearing, and that is my only sweater jumper finished object for this podcast. I'm now going to show you 2 whips that you did see in the last episode. So these are both socks, and I finished them both as part of my wrap up winter cal that I explained at the beginning. So the one that you did see last time is these. These are my entry to the Strictly Sock Along, which was a make along that is run by Ali of Little Drops of Wonderful and This Little Wonderful Life. She has 2 channels. I knit 2. I am finished them both. I haven't woven in the ends. But these are my Strictly socks, and I love them. The yarn that I used for this is a Homespun House. It's from their 2023 Advent, weekly yarn Advent, and the main colour is Twinkling Lights, I believe, which is a beautiful, it's like a pink base, a neutrally pink base with these speckles on. And then it came with a mini skein, which has some sparkly stellina that you might be able to see in there as well. So these are my entry to the Strictly Sock Along for this year, and I knit them alongside watching Strictly Come Dancing. And actually, I'm going to talk about this now because I can. I won one of the prizes, which is crazy. The part of the make along is run on YouTube, part of it's run on Instagram and Ravelry, and I took part on Ravelry, which I've never done before. I've never done a sort of taking part in any of the discussion posts on Ravelry, but I did this time, and Ali did her YouTube video and I won a prize. So I'm going to show that to you now just because I've shown you the socks. So I won her one of her prize packages, and it came with a stitch marker, which I actually can't see, which is very annoying. It might be downstairs somewhere, but it came with a lovely gem stitch marker that I'll insert a picture of if I can't find it. And Ali also provided a little pin which says you're a little drop of wonderful, and a badge and things like that, which were adorable. But the main part of the prize was a yarn, and it is this beautiful James Makes yarn. I have one colourway from James Makes Yarn previously, and it is the one he did for raising money for breast cancer, and I bought that charity yarn. But this is his Evermore colourway. It's 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% silver stellina, and it's really beautiful. So I am incredibly grateful to Ali to the random number generator for picking out my post. And she posted it the next day. Sorry, that's probably quite crinkly. And that is one of my kind of acquisitions, but my prize for my Strictly Sock Along socks, which I was really happy with. In terms of the actual socks, sorry, I didn't actually say anything about them because I spoke about them last time, but I just did a 2x2 rib cuff. I think I usually do 50 or 60 stitches for the leg, and then I did a heel flap and gusset and a regular toe. So there's nothing jazzy about these socks, they're just perfectly plain. The yarn is really the shining star of that, and I really wanted them to be plain because when you're watching a TV show like Strictly Come Dancing, you kind of want to be watching, you don't really want to be worrying about your sock pattern. So that is my first pair of finished socks, and I have a second pair that you saw last time. Last year I did a pair of socks for every single month of the year, and I didn't know if I was going to do that this year or not. I haven't. Well, we'll get to it. I kind of have, but I'll explain it in a minute. These are the Colourwork Cuff Club, and I showed you them last time and they were almost finished, but they are both now done. So this is the Colourwork Cuff Club by Summerlee Knits. This was the January pattern, which is this lovely scalloped design, and I knit them up on a pair of shorties. So this yarn here is the oldest hand-dyed yarn I own. It is by Lizzie Bird Yarns. I knew it was going to come to me. This yarn is by Lizzie Bird Yarns, and it was a sock set. It came with this delightful main colour, and the blue was the contrasting mini, and then this pink mini is a yarn from Beehive Yarns that my mum actually got in a mystery mini skein set. So I did that for the toe, and then obviously for the little scalloped edge. These haven't even got the ends woven in, so I have not worn them yet to see how I get on with them, because I haven't woven in the ends, but they were my January sock. And like I said, the pattern is from the Colourwork Cuff Club, which is by Summerlee Designs, and you get a Colourwork sock every single, Colourwork sock chart every single month. The February one was absolutely stunning. It was like a digitalized, that's probably not the best way to describe it, but it kind of gave me like a digitalized Valentine's Day love heart vibe. And when I first watched your video on it, I really wanted to knit it, but then I just haven't gotten around to it this month, so that has not happened for me. But I might knit it in the future, and now I've got the pattern to do so if I want to. My third pair of socks that has happened this year is this one. I haven't got my large sock blockers, so this is the large sock on my medium sock blockers. But these are finished, and apologies if they look a bit rough. I finished these, wove the ends in, asked Angus to try them on to make sure they fit him, and he wore them for like 3 days straight after that. So they're already quite well worn. But this is a 72 stitch regular vanilla sock. It has a 20 row 2x2 cuff. It has a 70 row leg, I think, a 60 or 70 row leg, and then a regular heel flap and gusset, and a normal foot and toe. This yarn I got from my mother. I have another one actually. It's called King Cole Zigzag 4-ply. I'll show you the actual ball later on when I do my acquisitions. But this is just like it's kind of like a West Yorkshire Spinners or an Opal or something like that. It's just a commercially dyed sock yarn that's your very standard 75-25. And my mum had loads of this in stash, so I quite like the colour. I picked it out of her cupboard, she said I could have it, and then Angus wears his socks to death. I knit him a pair of the Stephen West mystery sock along 2 years ago. I knit him a pair of socks for that, and he wears them all of the time. And then I've knit him another pair since in hand-dyed yarn, but they were a bit too big for him, so he doesn't wear them because they don't fit him right. But he is so knit-worthy when it comes to socks. He wears his socks all the time. He loves a jazzy sock, and he wears handmade socks very regularly. Like, I'm just looking at the heel of this and it's already like all the stitches are mashed together because he wears them. So I am happy to use this yarn. My mum got it on sale as well, so it wouldn't be more than like £3 a ball, and he will really wear this, and I can just chuck it in the wash machine. So very happy with this yarn and these socks so far. So that is my third and final finished pair of socks. The reason I say I'm not really doing this one sock a month thing is that I'm not consciously doing that. So I did knit the January socks in January, and then those socks that I knit for Angus I started early February and I've now finished them obviously, and it's still in February. So technically I have knit 2 pairs of socks already, one for each month of this year, but I'm not consciously doing it that way. I'm just knitting socks as and when I feel like it. So I will probably still end up with 12 pairs or more of socks this year, but it's just not a specific make along that I'm doing with myself, if that makes any sense. So these socks actually, did I start these? I might not have started these in February, you know. I have a feeling I started one of these last year. I've been telling porcupines. sorry, now my nose is itchy. I started one of these last year, like last February, because I was originally going to gift them to someone else, and then I changed my mind and decided just to give them to Angus. So I'm telling Porcupines, I haven't knit a pair of socks entirely in February, and it's currently the 24th of February, so if I want to do a pair of socks for February, I should really get on it. But yeah, so these are not within the month of February. I started these last year and I finished them now, which makes a lot of sense because these are part of the Wrap Up Winter Cal. I found these as a sock whip and I decided to get them off the needles, so that is where that came from. The Strictly Sock Along ones were a sock whip as well for the Winter Wrap Up Cal. Right. The final thing that I've knit on for the Winter Wrap Up Cal that's a finished object is my pom-pom shawl. So this is waiting to be blocked, which is why the ends are not fully woven in, because I have not blocked this yet since I put on the scalloped edge. But this, actually let me wear it like a shawl is meant to be worn. Please tell me if I'm doing this wrong, because this is the only shawl I own. But I just tuck it round the back and then like tuck the end. It doesn't help when you've got hair everywhere, but tuck the ends under like that. I have no idea if this is right or if it looks good because I can't see the camera from here. But yeah, so this is my version of the Pim Pom shawl, which is a pattern from Laura Penrose. It is the only shawl I've ever knit and I'm incredibly proud of it. It took me a long time to do. I started it ages ago and then it was sitting languishing, and all I had to do, I'd done the bobble row and I just had this last little border section, this outer border section to do, and I was just putting it off, if I'm honest. So the Wrap Up Winter Cal helped me pick this back up and get it finished. The purple yarn is by Wildflower Yarns and it is the colour Celestial, and that's on their DK base. And then the pink colour is by Beehive Yarns, and oh, I don't think I've got the yarn here either to check, but it is, oh, I can't remember the colour. Do I have it here? No, I don't have the leftovers here either, so I'll write the colour on the screen because I can't remember the colour, but it's by Beehive Yarns and it is her DK weight base as well. And I've got almost a whole skein left, I think, if not a whole skein left of this beautiful yarn. So I love this shawl. I've been wearing it in the house non-stop. I haven't worn it out the house yet, but I've been wrapping it around my shoulders. I've been wearing it like this because it's been quite chilly in Scotland over the last couple of weeks. So I'm loving it. It's like, I don't know what it is. I really, really enjoy it. It does need blocked. There is ends, like just hanging out, but I've just been wearing it in the house and not really caring about the ends. And I think it's great. It was a really good first shawl because it was really simple. The garter stitch is so squishy and I just love it. And I think actually it goes really well with my multicoloured Kindra as well, so I might just keep wearing it for the rest of the episode because it's cosy. But that's my last finished object, and my last object so far of the Wrap Up Winter Cal that's in FOs as well. So this takes me on to my whips, of which there are quite a few. So let's start with jumpers, shall we? The first one is actually a request for some help. So I spoke last time about my vest number 8, which is a My Favourite Things Knitwear cable vest pattern. And I told you that I was going to be knitting this as part of the Wrap Up Winter Cal. Now, I did. Oh, I've stolen the needles off of this and the stitches are coming off. Oh my gosh. Saved it, nailed it. Right, I'll just be holding on to that. So this is a cable vest. Let me show you the back so you can actually see. I am just going to hold on to these ends so I don't mess this up. But this is the back of the vest, and I was working on this just until I got to the end of the yarn I had, which is where I am now. So I have gotten to quite literally just under the underarm. It's really, really cropped. It's basically non-wearable at the moment, and I have run out of my fuzzy yarn. Now, here's where I need your help. This yarn looks like this. It has a light grey fluff, a dark grey core, and it has neps, Donegal neps on it. And it has been combined with a single strand of Drops Sunday in this pearl grey colour, and that's what's made this lovely fabric. Now, sadly, the We Are Knitters fuzzy yarn has now been non-produced for a very long time because I bought this like 4 years ago. They don't do this colour anymore, they don't have any left. I checked with them, I've messaged a bunch of people on Ravelry that still have it in their stash, but no one was willing to sell it to me, and I can't find any shop anywhere that still has a skein of this. So I'm now in a position where I'm left with several balls of the Sunday left. So I have the light grey, but what I'm looking for is a fluffy mohair, or not mohair, like a fluffy alpaca that has a dark core, relatively light fluff, and some neps. Because I really want it to match this as close as possible, because where it sits, I'm going to have to do a different colour button band, but where it's currently sitting, I think it would just look weird to change to a different colour. Like I could do a statement colour, but I think it would just look strange. So yeah, I really need some help finding an alternative yarn, because I love this. It's been on the needles for 4 years and I've done enough of it that I just don't want to finish it here. I want to finish the light vest. So if anyone has any yarn suggestions, please leave them in the comments below, because I'm quite devastated that this isn't going to be one of the ones finished for next week's yarn festival, because that was my big goal. But the yarn has run out and I've tried my very hardest to get new yarn for it and haven't been able to. So I have also used yarn substitution for the fuzzy yarn from We Are Knitters, and there isn't anything really suitable that they've listed. So I'm really reaching out to the ether to see if there's anything that you guys can suggest, because I'm quite sad that this jumper is still a whip. When I did have the motivation to use it and to finish it, and I just haven't been able to. So that is my sad whip that hopefully you'll be able to help me with. The rest of my whips are a bit more happy. So this one is definitely happy. Oh, it's attached to things now. Go back over there. This is my rainbow jumper. It has been a whip for a long time. It is in my Really Good Gathering bag, and this is one of my current focus wrap up winter cal projects. And this week we finished the body, we finished the body, did the ribbing, and we bound off. So let me just go back a bit so you can see it. This is my wonderful rainbow jumper. Now this is a self-drafted pattern. I've made it up. I think I used a drops free pattern to get the basic numbers, and then I've just made it up from there. The yarn, the white yarn that I'm holding, is Drops Air in the colour white. I've got a ball of it here in the colour white. I think it's white. Yep, number 1. And I'm holding it with this yarn, which is from Hobbycraft. Do I have a ball of it that's got the name? I do somewhere. Bear with me, bear with me. Go to my yarn colour. The other yarn is James C. Brett Double Knitting in the colour SH01, and this is what it looks like. And this is, oh, it doesn't even say what it's made with. 80% acrylic, 20% wool. I'm going to need another ball of this, so I may as well keep it in my whip bag. But like I said, this week we managed to finish the body, so now I just need to pick up the sleeves. The colour for this jumper was entirely inspired by Laura Penrose, the same person that designed this shawl. She knit one of these for her daughter, and I was just obsessed with it, and I needed one, and it's the perfect spring project. I've been saying for weeks and videos now that I have been desperate to cast on a bright, chunky, inspired jumper, and this has been in my whip pile the entire time and I've not been working on it. So I'm really glad to have picked this back up. God, it's got stuff on it and everything. But yeah, 2 sleeves to go now, but it's really chunky. It's not really that chunky, it's on 6mm needles, which is chunky for me. So I'm looking forward to working on that. Because it's like a made up pattern that I've made up myself, there's really not that much information to give you on that other than the yarn and the fact that it's just a basic raglan jumper. So any raglan pattern that you have, you would be able to substitute for that as long as your gauge works out. But for me, I just typed into the Drops website, Drops Air, and then found one that was like a Drops Air plus something else, and used the base numbers to get a neckline and then just increased from there. So really not that complicated, but I really love that jumper and I'm looking forward to it being done. I think it's going to be a little bit scratchy to wear. I think Drops Air and the other yarn. It's soft enough, but it's not super soft, so it might be one that I need to wear a long sleeve with for the first few wears until I get used to it, and then just swap to a short sleeve. But I am really looking forward to getting that done and off the needles, because that's been on there for quite a while. 2 more whips to go, and the next one is another pair of socks, because the final one I'm going to show you is quite exciting. So this is a pair of socks that I only cast on last week. Now it's in the same yarn that I mentioned that Angus's socks were in, which is the Zigzag King Cole yarn, and I've knit all of this in basically like a week maximum, because as part of Wool at Winton, there's going to be a crisis booth there, and they're asking for people to provide knit socks, knit hats, knit gloves, or knit scarves. I think you can find more information on the Wool at Winton page if you're attending. I know they're also having a booth at the Woolly Good Gathering and also Tangled Gala Shields, I think. So if you're attending any of those yarn festivals in Scotland, there will be a crisis booth, and it would be wonderful if everyone could donate one thing. That's my goal, is to donate 1 pair of socks, but I'll show you, I do have a second ball of this yarn in a different colour to potentially knit a second pair if I can before next Sunday, but I've got quite a lot on this week, so I don't want to overcommit myself, which is why I'm just going to focus on the one just now. But this is the colourway. I'm sorry I don't have a number or a name for it, but it's just this brown colour, and actually when I showed Angus he was like, oh, that gives me Molly Weasley vibes, which it actually does now that I'm looking at it. But I'm just knitting exactly the same size that I knit for Angus usually, which is a 72 stitches stitch count with a 20 row 2x2 rib. For this sock I have done a 50 row leg, a regular slip stitch, heel flap and gusset, and then I've done 80 rows for the foot, because that's what I do for Angus's socks, and I'm about to do the toe. To stop myself getting second sock syndrome on this and to keep the motivation going, I have taken from the outside of the ball this, and I've just started this as well. So this is the teeny tiniest little bit of ribbing that I'm starting, but it's got an adorable little dinosaur stitch marker on it. So I'm going to, now that this is on the toe, I'm going to finish the toe tonight probably, and hopefully get the cuff done on this, because once the cuff's done it's just stockinette, it's TV knitting, and it's not a problem at all. So they're my crisis socks that I'm hopefully going to take with me to Wool at Winton next Sunday, the 8th of March, and donate to the Crisis charity. So if you're heading to any of the Scottish Wool festivals and they've got a crisis stand, maybe if you have the time you'll be able to knit a pair of socks or a hat or gloves or something similar to donate to someone in need this winter. So that is my current sock whip, and then I only have one more whip left, and this one's quite different for me. So my sister reached out to me in January to let me know that one of her friends had had a baby, and she didn't even know that the woman was pregnant. My sister is a mum to 2 little boys, and it's a mum that she sees regularly on the school run. They get on, they chat, but my sister didn't know she was pregnant. And then one day she appeared with a baby, and my sister was very shocked that this woman had a newborn. But my sister really likes her and gets on with her well, so she asked if I would knit her something. And when I gave her free rein of patterns, she chose one that was more complicated than I thought she was going to, but it's actually been a lot of fun. A lot of my projects recently have been stockinette or similar or colour work, so I wanted to do something a little bit different, and so she chose a lace pattern. Now this, I've written it on the wall, is called the Tiny Tulips Dress, and it is by Pernilla Larson, or Knitting for Olive, and I'm knitting it in the 6-month size, and this is what I have so far, which probably looks a bit crazy. So what this is it is a lace motif skirt that looks like little tulips that you knit, and then you knit a bodysuit separately to that. So there is a plain stockinette bodysuit underneath, and then you attach the two together. You knit 2 sleeves separately because it's bottom up obviously, and now I'm about to start decreasing for the top part of the dress. Now, I read a bunch of projects on Ravelry before I started this that said this is going to take you a lot longer than you think it's going to, and I read that and thought, yeah, it'll be fine. this has taken a lot longer than I thought it was going to. There's so many parts to this, and now I'm finally at the point where it's all joined together. I only got to this point last night, that I'm hoping that the stockinette section will get, like, it's just raglan decreases now. So the rows are getting smaller, it's all stockinette from here until you get to the I-cord bind off. So I'm hoping this will go a bit quicker now. Today is Monday. I'm aiming to take this to my sister on Thursday so she can give it to the lady. So I've got 3 days. So this is going to be my evening knitting for the rest of this week basically, and hopefully I'll be able to get it done. I think it's something like 20 rows before you actually break off for the little back split bit that they always put on baby clothes. So it's not too many to go, but I just need to get on this because it is fingering weight, and that means that this is like over 200 stitches, which is just wild. So the yarn I'm using, this yarn you might recognise because I'm wearing it. This is the Wildflower Yarns Celeste. No, did I say Celeste? Celestial, that's it. Celestial colourway, but this is in their fingering weight, whereas this was DK. So this is in her fingering weight yarn, but it's the same. And then this top yarn here is also by Wildflower Yarn. This is what I've got left in the cake. But this one doesn't have a colourway name that I can remember. Is it in this bag? No, it's not. Oh, but I do know what this colourway here is called Juicy Fruit. There we go. This colourway is called Juicy Fruit by Beehive Yarns. Oh, there is a tag. There is a tag. Is it the right one? No, it's not. So unhelpful. This is a Wildflower Yarns colourway. I don't know the name of it. If I can find the name, it'll be on the screen, but it was part of their yarn club, their Mythical Creatures yarn club last year. And it had a lot of the same purples that the Celestial had in it, and they were both speckled. So I thought that they would go quite nicely together. I did try and fade in, but because of the bright neon pink, it looks a bit stripy, which I'm not the best pleased with. I think if I was to go back and do it again, I would just do the purple all the way to the skirt and then do the pink for the top half. But I'd already done so much lace by the time I decided I didn't quite like it that I'm definitely not going back. So yeah, in the future I wouldn't fade, I would just do the bottom in one colour, the top in another. But I am really, really pleased with how it's looking, and I think that the little sleeves do go really well with this purple as well. So hopefully the pink and the variegation in the top will bring it all together. But this is my tiny tulips dress. What have I got on here? I've got these adorable needle stoppers, which I bought for my mum and I, which I just think go perfectly well with this adorable, cutesy little dress. And yeah, hopefully this will be a finished object next time, because it's adorable, and it needs to be, because I need to give this to my sister on Thursday. If I don't get it to her on Thursday, it's not the end of the world. She can just give it to her a different week, but I committed myself to Thursday, so I will be working on it until the very end to see if I can get that done for her. But that is my last whip. I feel like I've been knitting more, but I think I've also gifted some things. In the last episode I showed you a pair of cable socks. I was knitting the Hibernal socks by Summerlee Knits, and hopefully I'll have a picture to pop on the screen, but I finished these and gifted these to my friend this month as well, so that's another pair of socks that I was working on. But I think that's everything. I feel like I'm knitting all the time, and I feel like I'm finishing a bunch of things, but equally this is where I'm at. So yeah, I might be missing something out, but you know, that's just how it goes. And I do have some acquisitions to share with you, which I hope you don't mind. It's actually only 2 now because I showed you the prize that I got from Ali. So the first is very simple, and it's kind of an acquisition but kind of not, because I got it from my mum's stash. But it's another ball of the King Cole zigzag sock yarn. So like I said, this is 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon. And I just picked this out of my mum's stash the same time I picked up the brown one, because I thought this was a nice colourway to make another pair of the socks if I can for the crisis stand. So that's my plan. If I can get that second sock done early doors this week, my plan will be to get another pair done, but this is just a backup if I have the time. If I don't, then I don't, and one pair will have to be what I contribute. But this is my other semi acquisition, and it's obviously like brown and orange and green, which is very sweet. The colourway, does it have a colourway? Yes, it's 3007 San Diego is the colourway for that one. And then my final one is also a project plan. So I'm going to be creating a whole video on this. I'm going to do a one project video for this because it's a bit of a Mount Everest magnum opus style jumper for me. It's a jumper that's been in my Ravelry queue for years, and I finally bit the bullet and decided to do it. And that is the Spot Sweater by Anne Wenzel. I'll pop a picture up on the screen if you haven't seen it before, but it has been on my to knit list for the longest time, and I haven't had enough minis or haven't quite decided how I was going to do it. And this year I finally have enough minis or an advent calendar to use. So I will be using the leftovers that I have from this advent calendar to make my spot sweater. I say in the other video, because I've already filmed the start of that video, that I do have another advent which I could have used, but I decided because I'd already caked this stuff up and cracked into it that it would be wonderful to get this completely out of stash. So the contrast colours will be what you see in this yoke here, or most of what you see in this yoke here. And the reason this falls into acquisitions is because I needed a main strand, a main colour main strand. So I have some Suri alpaca silk in stash, just an undyed white Suri alpaca silk that I've had in stash for a wee while, that was in a project that I frogged to get the main colour for this jumper. So I have 4 skeins of that, and I needed a white or cream to go with it. Alongside the spot sweater being something I've wanted to get for a while, working with Knitting for Olive is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I watch a lot of podcasters and a lot of people use Knitting for Olive, and I have never used their merino yarn before. So I decided to treat myself, and that arrived this week. So I got 5 skeins of their merino yarn to have as the main colour for my spot sweater. And considering how beautiful Knitting for Olive is and how many wonderful colours they've got, the colour that I went for my first ever knit is white. But I wanted to try Knitting for Olive. I wanted to knit the spot sweater, so this just made sense. So this is actually their cream colourway in the merino yarn. This is what it looks like. And like I said, I got 5 balls of this. So I will be holding this with the Suri alpaca silk as the main colour, and then I will be holding 1 strand of each of these colours for my contrast, and I am so excited for this. I haven't swatched yet because I haven't had time, and I don't think I'll be able to swatch until I finish the Tiny Tulips dress or at least one of the pair of Crisis socks, because I don't want to, if I swatch and then block it and then love it and think it's amazing, I'm going to want to cast on. So I think when I get the Crisis socks done, or when I finish the Tiny Tulips dress, this will be my sort of congratulations cast on to myself. So that was my biggest acquisition. One thing that I am doing this year is I am tracking how much money I'm spending on yarn. Now, I'm not including patterns or notions or anything like that because I don't really spend that much money on them. It's more of a one-off, but I am tracking how much yarn I am buying every month, because I think towards the tail end of last year it just got a bit crazy, and I don't want it to get crazy this year. Angus and I are renovating a camper van, and we're converting a van into a camper van. So that takes a lot of money. I had to buy the van, so my savings are seriously depleted. So I'm trying to save money again, and that just means tracking where my money is going. So I'm not restricting myself. I'm not on a yarn ban. I'll probably come home from the festival in 2 weeks' time with some yarn, but I'm just writing down whenever I purchase some yarn on my whiteboard here and keeping note of the totals. So will I write it on the screen, or will I just I think I'll just tell you because it's easier. So obviously today is the sort of tail end, it's the last week in February, so I know January's. So in January I purchased 4 lots of yarn, 4 different yarn purchases, and the total came to £194.55 for that. So one of those was a 3-month subscription. So I ordered the January, February and March in one go. So that was £70 odd, which is why that was a bit more expensive. I purchased 1 lot of additional yarn for a jumper that I had run out of the yarn for. So that was from We County Yarns, and that was £40. I purchased a singular month of a yarn club, which is £25. and I bought some stuff on sale from Beehive Yarns, which was £50. So all in all, it came to £194 on yarn just in January. And honestly, I wrote this out in like the second week in January. I wrote all that down, and I was gobsmacked at how much that all totaled up to, because the individual purchases didn't feel like that much, but obviously they tot up to quite a lot when you're buying hand-dyed yarn. So when I saw that in the middle of January, I was like, absolutely not, are you buying anything else in January? So that halted my plans for the spot sweater and other things, and really made me think consciously about using my stash and going to my stash first. So I'm really glad I did that in January, because now it's February, it's the last week in February, and I have made 2 yarn purchases. The first was the monthly club I bought in January. I purchased it again in February, so that's £25. And the second was that Knitting for Olive yarn that I bought, and I needed that in order to get the spot sweater out of my stash. So I had all of the other yarn in stash already, I just needed a main colour. So that was about £40? Yeah, £40. So all in all, I've spent approximately £66 on yarn this month, which is still a lot of money, but I'm not going to justify my money spending to anyone. That's fine. £65 is a lot better than £190 in January. So I'm just keeping track of it. I'm not beating myself up about it. I'm just using it as a space where I actually physically write out when I've spent the money, so I know realistically what's what with my finances. So yeah, just something to voice. I thought it would be interesting to share, maybe that's how I'm doing it, just writing down my purchases on something physical so I can see them, and counting up those amounts. Like I said, it has made me really think about my stash. Like, I'm looking around at my stash and I'm so excited about all the things that are in my stash, and I've also written up like upcoming projects that I want to do, and all of them are out of stash. My upcoming garments and my upcoming accessories are all out of stash at the moment. And I said to you last month, what I'm doing is writing down a project I'm excited about on my board, and then I'm letting it marinate for a couple of weeks, and then when I come back to my board, if I'm excited about it, it stays on there. If it's something that I was just hyped about because I'd seen it on social media and then it's maybe worn off a little bit, I'll remove it from the board. So that's really helping me as well, not instantly buy stuff I don't need, or instantly think I need to work on a pattern that perhaps I actually don't. I'm just excited about the hype on social media. So I'm really enjoying this new method of working. I'm really inspired again by my stash. I am loving all my projects at the moment. I was keen to cast on that Tiny Tulips dress, because after knitting on sort of long-term whips for a while this month, I was kind of like, oh, I just want something new. So that baby accessory was the perfect new thing that I needed. And hopefully the rainbow jumper will be off the needles very soon. And once I have got a couple more things off the needles, I'm going to cast on the spot sweater, which I'm just really excited about. I know I've been talking a little bit about plans and intentions for this year already in this episode, but the final thing I want to say is that I think moving forward, I'm going to have a pair of socks, an accessory or baby/child knit, and a jumper. Because last year there was a point, the end of last year, I had 3 jumper whips, I had several accessory several accessory whips, and a couple pairs of socks on the needles at the same time, and that was just too much. So it's my intention to whip down, which is why I did the winter wrap-up cal. So it's my intention to whip down and then cast on the spot sweater, have a singular pair of socks and a space for an accessory or a child's knit or a baby knit or whatever that fits. So yeah, that's my plans. The winter wrap-up cal ends on the 8th of March. If you want to take part, you just pop the hashtag winter wrap-up cal on your Instagram posts, and I'm sharing I'm sharing a lot of the posts on my story and keeping an eye on the listing there. There will be a prize for the winter wrap-up cal. I am going to the festival on Sunday the 8th of March, and I think I will purchase the prize from there. I do have a couple of things in stash that I'm considering popping in the prize basket as well, but I'm thinking I will purchase something at the festival to make that part of the prize. So keep your eyes open for what that prize will be. I will be announcing it most likely on Instagram. I'm thinking I might announce it on Wednesday or next Wednesday, depending on when I know what I'm going to be donating or what I'm going to be giving out as a prize. But there will be a winner for the winter wrap-up cal as well. If you're not able to attend the Will at Winton show, that's not a problem at all. You can definitely still take part in the CAL. It's just I will be at the show and it would be nice to see you there in some of the stuff that you have wrapped up this winter. But if not, I would love to see what you've been working on over on Instagram. And I love to chat to people, so if you want to chat to me about anything you've been working on, anything I've been working on, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below or message me on Instagram. My Instagram is designs.madebyjo, and you can reach out to me there. I always love to see what everyone is working on, and I'm incredibly inspired by other people. I'm really into bright colours. I'm into opal style socks at the moment. I'm really into scrappy things at the moment. So yeah, any of those things, I'd love to hear about them, and anything else that you're working on as well, obviously. But I am gonna go because I'm starting to get hungry and I think I can hear my dog whining outside the door. So I'm gonna go and see what he wants, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I'm not sure when I'll get this up, it depends on how long it takes me to edit, but I hope you're having a lovely week. I hope you're getting lots of knitting time and that you are well overall. I'm feeling much better this week, so I'm hoping that you are too. And we will catch up hopefully very soon, either in my next podcast or in my project vlog for the spot sweater. Depends on how much I get done in the next wee while. But thank you so much for spending the time with me, and I'll catch up with you very soon. Bye!